think one of the biggest reasons why people quit preserving food is that they turn it into a second full-time job. It's everywhere. You open Pinterest, you see these beautiful, massive pantries, all the colored food, color coordinated, everything looks nice, and it makes us all want a pantry like that. But then when you start thinking about doing it, it almost feels unattainable. So the problem is people see these pantries, the hundreds of thousands of jars, they want to do it too. And it's easy to get overwhelmed. You quit before you even start, or you do start, you can some stuff, and you never even use that, and then it's just wasted time, effort, energy, money, so you quit. And that's really not what we need in our pantry. So I promise, canning does not mean you have to can everything. It just means you have to can the right things for your family. So let's break down the planning process so you can start preserving food. If you have a baseline system, you are so far ahead of the game already and more likely to make this work. Number one thing to do would be start with your meal planning. If you start with the meals your family loves, so sit down and pick 5, maybe 10 meals. This doesn't have to be something you plan the whole month out and have all this variety of food. It's not that. It's like the staples you go back to over and over again. So maybe it's tacos, spaghetti with meatballs, chicken noodle soup, pizza. Think about those things, and you can start to then break it down into ingredients. So let's say 4 spaghetti and meatballs. Pasta sauce, well, this is tomato sauce, but you can make pasta sauce out of this. You need tomato sauce, maybe for your tacos. A jar of salsa will come in handy. Maybe it's even canned meat. Salsa goes with a lot more things. So maybe it's salsa, maybe it's taco meat, but I'm really trying to go basic here. So pick your meals, break it down even further into the little ingredients, and you can start planning from there. So when I did that, these are kind of the ingredients that work for my family and what we use. You know, if you were to have asked me this 10 years ago before I had kids, I would have never put jelly or jam in my rotation because we just didn't eat it. When I first started, I canned it because I thought that's what looked good. That's what you do, you can jelly. But we never ate it, it went to waste. So that wasn't in my repertoire back then, but now it is. And peanut butter and jelly, I have to have jelly. Bread and jelly, biscuits and jelly. Jelly is a staple in my house, so jelly, I need that. Having just soup ready to go, a soup base, is just invaluable for me. Salsa, broth, and tomato sauce. So tomato sauce, you can make it into a ton of different things. So that brings me to what I feel is step 2, which is start small. And we kind of already did that. We broke it down into the basics. So pick your couple of categories based on your meals, your ingredients, and really kind of what fits into those avenues. Just a couple that you can go down into your basement, grab a couple ingredients, 1 per meal, whatever works. But to know that you have it on hand for your family. You don't have to go to the grocery store. How nice is it to not go and get stock all the time because you just have it. You've canned 10 at once and then you're good for a little while. But, so you broke down the meals into smaller pieces. And if you can think about it even smaller, let's say you came up with pasta sauce. Like I mentioned earlier, pasta sauce is always handy to have, and it would be so nice to have your pasta sauce ready to go. But if you broke it down even further like I did and you have a lot of tomato sauce ready, you can make a pretty quick pasta sauce. And even for pizza sauce, that's what we do all the time. So I used to can a bunch of little jars of pizza sauce, but I found using tomato sauce and having that made it easier for other meals that I can come in and grab the tomato sauce and I'm not just staring at pizza sauce. But again, do what works for your family, break it down super small, and then you can start building your way up from there. A tip as you start to can though is Avoid doing huge projects unless you absolutely carved out the time for it. Really gonna need some attention, time. You can't just walk away from the stove with pressure canning. It's certainly when it's building pressure, stabilize with pressure, and then you can walk away from it when it's coming down. Avoid huge projects unless you really dedicated the time to do it, especially if you have kids. I know that's super hard to do, but you can tag team with somebody. You're really gonna wanna dedicate that time and make sure that you can keep some eyes on the stove, because if you're gonna lose a big batch of something, that hurts. So do your best to make sure that you planned accordingly to make this happen. It may seem like a lot of work even with like a couple staple basic ingredients here. And it is a lot of work, but you know, let's say I'm doing pints of salsa or pints of just tomato sauce. I'm not adding any other ingredients, just sauce. You can get, you know, 30 cans in a session, potentially 30 pints, or depending on what your setup is, you know, a little more or less, but let's just say 30 cans at once. Yeah, you're front loading that work, but the payoff makes it so much easier to go in the pantry and grab something later and dump it in for dinner. The timing it saved is wonderful. So yes, you're front loading, but definitely worth it. So lastly, you know, as we broke it down into very basic ingredients, the last tip is to build it back up slowly. You're not gonna do it overnight. If you try, it's gonna wear you out, and that's certainly not worth it. Kind of defeats the whole purpose of having things ready and making life a little bit easier. So build it slowly. And what I would recommend if you're new to canning or even just want to try a different method, it didn't work for you the first time, take 1 month and each week dedicate 1 day. So again, make sure that you have somebody to look out for your kids if you have them, or they can help you, but make sure to dedicate 1 day, half a day, depending on what you're canning, but nonetheless, dedicate it out 1 day per week for a month, and you will have 4 of your staples all ready to go within that month. So you're building your pantry within that month, and maybe try the next month, do it again with the same ingredients, just start stockpiling those that you need. Maybe you get a little bit more adventurous, but just take those little slots of time, and I promise you that it will benefit you in the long run. All right, so basically the point is you don't need hundreds of jars. You don't need this beautiful curated pantry. I know we would all love that, but it really just comes down to what system works with your family, what you need. Because if, imagine this times 30, 60 each, yes, I guess we're getting into hundreds of jars there, but it's not all different stuff. It's just stuff that you will use and make life so much easier for you and your family. You'll truly get to enjoy canning.